Welcome to Session 18, World War II, the deadliest conflict in human history, and the post-war order it created. This is a heavy topic, but a crucial one. By the end, you'll be able to explain the rise of fascism and the causes of the war, trace America's path from neutrality to victory, and understand the Holocaust and the post-war settlement that shaped our world. The harsh Peace of Versailles and the global depression created fertile ground for authoritarian leaders. Adolf Hitler in Germany, Benito Mussolini, the father of fascism, in Italy, and a militarist government in Japan. Britain and France tried appeasement, giving in to Hitler's demands to avoid war, most infamously at Munich in 1938. But appeasement only convinced Hitler the West wouldn't fight. Then, on September 1st, 1939, Germany invaded Poland. Britain and France declared war, and a Second World War had begun. Americans were deeply isolationist, but FDR edged toward the Allies with Lend-Lease, lending weapons to Britain. Then everything changed on December 7, 1941. Japan launched a surprise attack on the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor, killing over 2,400 Americans. FDR called it a date which will live in infamy, and America was fully in the war. At home, the country mobilized. 6 million women took factory jobs, symbolized by Rosie the Riveter, and Americans rationed goods and bought war bonds. But there was a dark chapter too. 120,000 Japanese Americans were forced into internment camps without evidence of any wrongdoing. We must pause on the Holocaust, the systematic, state-sponsored murder carried out by Nazi Germany. It is one of the most important and sobering topics in all of history. The Nazis murdered 6 million Jewish people, 2/3 of all the Jews in Europe, along with millions of others, including Roma, people with disabilities, and political opponents. After the war, the Nuremberg trials held individuals accountable for crimes against humanity for the first time, establishing that following orders is no defense for genocide. The tide turned in 1942. In the Pacific, the Battle of Midway destroyed Japan's carrier fleet. In Europe, on June 6, 1944, D-Day, the Allies launched the largest amphibious invasion in history at Normandy, beginning the liberation of Western Europe. Germany surrendered on VE Day in May 1945, but Japan fought on, so President Truman made the momentous decision to drop atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki that August. Japan surrendered within days, ending the war. The decision to use the bomb remains one of history's most debated. Truman argued it saved lives by avoiding an invasion. Critics say it was unnecessary. Out of the ashes, a new world order emerged. The United Nations was founded in 1945 to keep the peace. The Marshall Plan poured $13 billion into rebuilding Western Europe, and NATO created a military alliance where an attack on one member is an attack on all. At home, the GI Bill sent millions of veterans to college and helped them buy homes, building the modern middle class and triggering the baby boom. But the wartime alliance quickly fractured. Stalin broke his promise of free elections and seized Eastern Europe, and the Cold War, our next session, began. Let's test it. After Munich, Hitler kept taking territory. What lesson do historians draw from the failure of appeasement? Pause and choose. The answer is A. Each concession convinced Hitler the West wouldn't resist, so appeasement encouraged more aggression rather than satisfying his ambitions. Giving in signaled weakness, not goodwill, so Hitler took more each time. That's why the Munich analogy is still invoked whenever leaders debate how to respond to an aggressive state. Let's recap Session 18. The Depression and the harsh Treaty of Versailles fueled the rise of Hitler, Mussolini, and militarist Japan. Appeasement failed, and the invasion of Poland began the war. Pearl Harbor brought the United States fully in. The Holocaust took 6 million Jewish lives, answered afterward by the Nuremberg trials. And victory came through D-Day and the atomic bomb, followed by a new order built on the UN, the Marshall Plan, and NATO.